Community Conversations is a space that fosters conversation around topics important to us, with the purpose of creating an educational opportunity to teach, learn, work, and grow together. With your host, Ina.
Hi, and welcome to yet another episode of Community Conversations. Hope you all had a fantastic summer. I know we all had, and we're so happy to be back in this space and diving into new topics. And today's theme is intention and impact. Maybe some talk of inspiration, how it all entwines. But yeah, I'm giving the mic first over to Mr. Lab.
Well, thank you, Ina. Thank you. I really love this topic because it's a topic that over the years I've messed up a lot on. Being somebody that has always, for as long as I can remember anyways, been very passionate about doing good in the world, being a good person and trying to do good in the world and doing that through good intentions. And I think the idea of intention and impact, or intention versus impact, however you're framing it, is so interesting, because I feel like so often as people, we out of good intentions are sometimes doing things that, again, well-intended, not meaning to hurt, but are not necessarily serving the purpose and or community that you are actually trying to serve, and actually feeding the, we'll say, social issue more than actually creating positive impact to break down that issue, if that makes sense. And I think intent is so interesting, because I know, at least I've learned, for me personally over the years, one of the interesting things around the idea of like good intentions is it makes us feel good, and it makes us just feel better about ourselves for doing good things. And on one hand, I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that in terms of feeling good about doing good work. But I think asking all the right questions is also important, and not just doing something because you think that is helpful. If I could provide a real life example, one that we've talked about before, somebody just kind of coming up behind somebody, grabbing their wheelchair and like helping them across the road. Mm-hmm. On one hand, somebody might think, oh, I'm helping. On the other hand, was there ever a question? Did you ever ask the question, do you want my help? Mm-hmm. The answer might have been no. And if the answer is no, then that human is fine. So again, the good intent is there, but who is feeling good about that intent? The person being pushed in the wheelchair, who doesn't want to be pushed in the wheelchair, doesn't feel good about that well-intended thing. So the impact is not a positive impact. It's a negative impact, not taking into account that human's feelings and not considering that person in the wheelchair is full-heartedly capable. That person with using a wheelchair doesn't need your help. And if we are asking the right questions through good intentions, then we can not only help kind of mitigate those sorts of experiences, but also actually start to create, through good intentions, a great impact as well. So it's not just I feel good about myself, but we're actually breaking down we're actually breaking down some of those things through asking the right questions or asking questions, period. And it doesn't really take much to say, hey, can I help you? Do you want my help? But then it is all, yeah, sorry, go for it, Diva.
And actually listen to that human, listen to the answer, and not just assume that they need help, because they might be, if they're in a wheelchair and let's say, for example, going up a hill, they might be training for something. And you just took the liberty to encroach on their personal space and messed up something that was important to them. That is nothing to feel good about. So asking questions and actually listening.
Yeah, I'm happy you added that piece, actually, because that is taking the response that you get. So if the response is no thank you, taking that is like, okay, cool, because this isn't about me. I just wondered if you want help, and if you don't want help, totally cool. Like you do you, totally fine. That's awesome. I'm here if you need help. But cool.
Because I'm also thinking the deeper meaning of impact is between two persons or more. I mean, of course, you can do things for yourself and have an impact in your own life, but to impact another person's life or expanding on your own world, it takes at least one other human. And if you're not ready to listen and actually take in and act on that other person's response, then it's just messed up.
100%.
And that then, if you're not ready to have that conversation or that conversation with that person, or exchange of words, or whatever you want to call it, don't be surprised if there are going to be negative consequences. Just like I said a couple of episodes ago, that people used to push me into buses and breaking my chair, and then were upset with me that I got upset. Well, of course I'm going to get upset. You're breaking my shit that I need.
You're breaking my legs, my bones. Way of getting around.
I'm not going to sit there and be grateful for it. It's that simple. Communicate, listen, and actually not just listen, hear, because there's a difference between listening and hearing a person. Because if you listen, you can freely assume so many things. But if you hear them, it's more likely that you will understand. There's not much, if you're a really good listener, there's not much space for your assumptions, because you've asked the right questions. And you've listened to the answers.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I love that you actually brought the word assumptions into it. Because I was raised always with the saying that assuming makes an ass out of you and me. Um, and those assumptions, yeah, I mean, assumptions, whether we're talking this conversation or just assuming things in general, does lead to some sort of break in the communication, line of communication. Um, so instead of making those assumptions, asking questions, asking the right questions, or simply just asking questions, period. Just being curious, asking questions, putting it out there, and not just assuming that human needs help, or and I think it's interesting because I know I'll speak to come back to me messing up with this idea of like, I'm full of good intentions. I've always been full of good intentions, and it is interesting because for a long time in learning, so many of those good intentions came from not understanding, came from my own privileges in the world, came from a lack of knowledge and awareness, and actually, and I can self-identify growing up, not actually hearing as much as I was listening, if that makes sense. I've always listened, but truly actually hearing and genuinely like taking what I'm being told has been a little bit of a learned skill over the years in terms of becoming stronger at actually hearing, not through my own bias lens, not through my own bias good intentions, but actually hearing what's being said and taking that and figuring out, okay, cool, how do I wrap those good intentions around actual positive impact to actually take what I'm not just listening to, but actually hearing and receiving, and you know, work towards creating an impact that is not based on my own want to make myself feel good. Because that, if that's how I'm continuing to function, it is just kind of a selfish thing. You know, I could just continue to do things to make myself feel good forever. But is that really creating? Is that intent really creating change? I personally don't think so. I really don't think so. I don't think it's breaking down social issues. I don't think it's really addressing the root cause. It's not really practicing empathy, and actually taking action through the lens of trying to create actual impact versus good intent, if that makes sense.
We're just bathing in our own egos, basically.
Yeah. And I feel like it's so easy to do. It's so easy to do that, because it's just so easy to do. It takes another level to dive a little bit deeper to actually, you know, create impact that is actually serving somebody, and not just, you know, I did my good deed for the week. Well, okay, so, well, that's sweet, but like, what kind of imprint is that actually leaving in the world? And I know for me, I think a lot about legacy. And when I die, unless we get to a point in life where people can be kept alive forever, in which case I will never die.
I hope not. God.
Sorry, jokes aside, I think about this idea of legacy, and like, when I die, what will be that thing that that lives on. That's bigger than me, pun intended. I'm just finishing a song called Bigger Than Me, and it's about that same idea. That wasn't an intentional plug. That was weird. But what is that one thing? What is that one thing that you're doing that after your time here on the earth will live on through other people, will live on through your kids, will live on as an energy in the world that continues to function because of not just your good intention to feel good about doing your one good deed for the week, but to actually create something that was hopefully a little bit sustainable and start to have a positive impact in people's lives. But this idea of legacy, I think, is super, super fascinating. Yeah. Anyways.
Speaking on that topic, I'm quite curious. Then, what you at this stage of your life you want your legacy, or what do you want your impact to be, and yeah, in the world, and what is your intention and impact? Sorry,
Diva, you should take that one first.
Why? Why are you putting me on the
That's
spot?
such a hard question. That's such a hard question.
yeah. If I
yeah.
Sorry.
Wow. I just really want people to live as they want, to no, if I can do or say something to a person that is struggling, for example, with whatever, and that thing that I say or do lights a spark in them and gives them that motivation,
Yeah,
to start something that leads them towards an improvement that they want to make, that I won't stop doing things, that I won't shut up until the day I die.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is so valuable. I have so many people, the list is long of those people that inspired me to do things and to be able to move in the direction that I want in whatever area of my life and in whatever topic. And I'm extremely grateful for those people that I had the privilege to meet, because that's not a given. If I would have, if I remember to when I was younger and lived in institutions, I would have never have dreamed of doing the things that I do today. I would have never dreamed of accomplishing things that I have accomplished, and that the goals that I have, that I'm actually moving towards achieving. That is just remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
If I might say so.
Yeah.
And I want that for other people.
Mm.
Yeah. Can I just want to almost riff off of you, Diva, and
Go.
run run with this idea of dreaming, because I have always been raised through the lens that anything and everything is possible. And it is interesting because over the years, I've always continued to live through that light and idea that anything is possible. And I've also learned through all these different experiences in life that that anything is possible, and dreams are just like such an incredible vehicle to foster incredible growth and foster doing things that you never imagined possible. But I've also realized that there are people in the world that have a more challenging upbringing, which makes dreaming much harder, and dreaming not as possible, and is challenged in so many different ways. And so I think for me, as well as like continuing to hopefully light, Diva, you said it perfectly, like lighting sparks in people. I love that. I think for me as well, continuing to take this idea of dreaming big and like putting that out into the world, putting that energy out into the world, and like shooting for the stars. I'm going to share the stage with Bono someday, and I cannot wait to open for U2. I still believe that is a possibility. But I think it's also interesting because come the moment that happens, I'm so excited to find a way to work that experience through a social justice lens, to be able to put forward the realities of all the things that we're still fighting for from Indigenous rights in Canada to disabled rights around the world, and to continue to foster growth in education, and potentially and hopefully creating more equity in the world, more equity in the world through the idea of dreaming big and setting big goals and ideas, so that we can do all these things and light sparks in humans to do more than they ever thought possible, and just, I guess, essentially at the end of the day, create this energy that just creates really cool stuff that addresses social justice issues, addresses the real things also going on in people's lives as well. So it's not just about somebody as privileged as me, continuing to dream, but also making dreaming possible for people who didn't know what that felt like before. And I don't know if that kind of made sense in a roundabout way, but again, to be super cheesy, but I think the energy is everything. And if you know me as a songwriter, you get that because I wrote a song called that. But I do fully believe that the vibe we bring into a room does have the power to just light up that room. Equally to that, the vibe that we bring into a room has the power to bring down the room. So what sort of impact do you want to have? And how can we make sure that when we walk into a room, everybody feels a little bit stronger because of that impact? I love that question, Ina. That's a really hard one. Can I flip that back on you, Ina? What would be the impact that you have?
I reflected on that before we hopped on, and for me at this stage, it's more important to me to show myself and to be a good role model to my to my nieces and nephews and my friends' kids, so that they, when they grow up, doesn't see disability or being in a wheelchair as something extraordinary or strange or whatever. So that is my intention. With that being said, I know that I just by opening my front door and going into town on a bus or just rolling around, I know I'm making an impact on all kinds of people, and that also brings out another kind of hard like balancing act for me, is that I get both like genuine like, go, oh, you look so strong, and you're doing amazing work, and I'm so proud of you, and from people that I look up to and go like, wow, do you really think I'm cool? For example, when I got the very strange idea to climb the second largest mountain in Tanzania, Meru. I have never been someone that has like reached for that, but a few months before that happened, which was just before the pandemic, by the way, me and my mother trained, both me rolling in my wheelchair and me walking up and down skiing slopes, actually, around here to train and to hear big tough mountain bikers going down with their mountain bikes, shouting at me, wow, you're the coolest. And I'm like, wow. And I've also heard that with when I'm skiing and at the bottom of the lift, there sometimes can come up this big tough snowboard guy going, wow, I think you're amazing. And that for me is much more rewarding than having to hear or hearing, oh wow, you're so good, you're so good, you're so great, just by me rolling up this little slope from my subway station here at home,
which isn't very hard.
No, and that is my everyday life. It's like me saying to every two-legged person that I meet, "Oh wow, I think you're so amazing for just being outside."
Yeah.
And walking.
That would be condescending.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why is it then that when able-bodied people saying the same thing to us in a wheelchair, then it's okay for them?
Firstly, let me say, it's definitely, I know you don't mean it like this, but it's definitely not okay, for sure. It's strange. It's definitely strange. And I think it's interesting because I do think some of these things, especially the response that people give sometimes, again, it's not like will intended. Like complimenting somebody is not necessarily, like say something like that. It's not meant to be condescending, but it's most of the time like, okay, just let me tell you that. And I think this is where it starts to get me because people don't know what they don't know, right? We've talked about this here on Community Conversations before. Sometimes people just don't know what we don't know. So if I knew something more than somebody else about a certain issue, fine, fair. If I tell that person what's up with that issue and they still have an issue and aren't willing to learn, and like, then that's when it becomes, well, I tried to help and I tried to, give you my knowledge, and you just don't care to hear it. So yeah, sorry, but that's not cool. Not at all. So I think it's interesting because again, so I'm gonna put myself on the chopping block again. I'm really grateful to have friends across our community, like the two of you, like so many other friends within our community, who over the years have shot me little messages that have resonated with me. A friend of mine, as a singer-songwriter, I just booked gigs, especially as a young dude. I just booked gigs, and I will forever remember getting a message to say, "Oh, it's a bummer, the venue's not accessible," and that gutted me. That gutted me a lot because at the end of the day, I am a person that just wants everybody to come. Like, come to the show, and here's my friend who genuinely wants to come, but they can't. And that really, really gutted me. And again, I could sit here and say it gutted me and then just continue to function with the rest of my life, never changing. But that little experience had an impact on me that changed the way that I went about booking gigs. Now, is every venue all the time that I play 100% accessible in all the ways, shapes, and forms that it needs to be? I wish I could say it was. And I work so it to make sure it is. But it is so damn hard, I tell you, and it's something I battle with. I really, really battle with because I know a lot of great venues, but I walk in there and it's like, your washroom's not accessible. What the heck? And like the owners are really cool. What the heck? Like I'm not gonna do an event here. Like it's not accessible, and like it just, this sucks. Especially for the work that I want to do, that's important to me and my friends. Like this is not okay, and so it's interesting because. I hear some things like this and I get things like this. and I want to believe that things, complimenting somebody for just doing something that they would do is not necessarily ill-intended, but it is like if you were having that conversation and said, "Hey, listen, can I tell you this thing?" And if they still had an issue, then it's like, okay, you don't get it, fine, fair, peace. And the other piece to that I was going to mention is, and I know I've referenced Aaron Wheels a couple of times here in the States for doing all the BMX stuff that he's doing on his wheelchair. And one of the things that I thought was really, really cool, because I saw him in Canada when he was here, and one of the things that I thought was really cool, they did like this promo before he actually did his big jump, and one of the dudes who brought him into the Nitro Circus, one of the dudes that brought him in said something really cool that I thought was really cool anyways. And he said nobody before Aaron had any idea how to do all the stuff that he's doing on a wheelchair. Somebody, doing dirt biking has a billion different people to say, "Hey, how did you do that trick? How did you do that? They have mentors. They have people to ask, how did you do that thing?" But there's literally no one before Aaron who has been as extreme on a wheelchair. And so he's literally like a pioneer to wheelchair BMX. So like to have somebody say like, man, or like little kids, or they made like little figurines about him, because like he's just this kind of pioneer in wheelchair BMX. No one before has ever done it. I think there's an element of like, as human beings, we've not seen things like this often. So when we see it, it's like, oh, whoa, that's pretty cool. Like, what the heck? Never seen that before. That's awesome. Anyways, I don't know if that made sense, but I think there's like a little bit of a shock factor. Like, once upon a time, a human who uses a wheelchair may have never even dreamt that thing up to climb a mountain in Kenya. And now we're dreaming that big, which is like, whoa, that's sweet. I'm going to close my window quickly because there's a lawnmower.
I'm realizing I might have things around and being a little bit too quick going on what we personally think about our intention and impact. So let me switch gears to this community and this conversation, the work that we're doing, and what impact do we want to make with this channel, and and are we moving towards that, or
That's a great question.
Yeah. Did that make sense?
Yes.
Or was it just
yes.
in my head?
If I could, I'll start with intent. I'll just start with intent, and I know one of the initial intentions was just to create a space, literally, that focused on talking about things, and just focused on bringing different themes, different elements across our community, bringing it to some sort of figurative or literal table to talk about, to converse, to share perspective, and to openly receive, openly learn, teach, grow together. Because I do believe that I think we all have something to learn and we all have something to teach. You know, we're all, whether we identify with it or not, I think we're all experts in something. In terms of our own experience, and we're definitely experts of our own experience. Nobody knows more than we as individuals know about our own experience. But I think we all have a lot to learn. We all have something to learn, and we all have something to teach. And so I think it's kind of cool because fostering some sort of conversation around some of these things that that are important to us, that can hopefully reach somebody else and have them either weigh in on the conversation or just even listen and learn or whatever. Have it do something to create conversation and learning and teaching and growth. At the end of the day, growth to just be the best versions of ourselves and what we're doing we're trying to create as a group. And I guess that's a little bit of the intent that I kind of had in mind. But yeah. Yeah.
Eva?
I couldn't agree more with Danny.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Just, again, just to light a spark to something that might lead to something good in the end. Yeah. That's all we can do. Basically, we can't force people to listen or to hear us or to even do things that we consider productive and good. We can always voice our own opinions, which is what we are doing, and hope that it might have an impact on someone in a good way.
Could I actually just riff on that one more time, Diva, because I know one of the areas that I constantly have on my brain that I think could just be really, really cool through the lens of education is, how can we as humans in SBNH and or disability, how can we be allies to, maybe young teachers who don't know how to build out a more inclusive classroom, or trying to find cool ways to build more inclusion into their learning, and some of these conversations could be received by a teacher who goes, hey, I love what you guys are doing. Could I show this? Could I use that? Because I'd really love to build that into this unit that we're doing around, whatever. So to build out that kind of content or conversation that could maybe potentially have an impact in a classroom as well, and be worked into curriculum and conversations that are starting to happen, but of course we know could happen a lot more. So that from the very get-go, there are, new generations of young people all the time learning about, what equity looks like, what inclusion looks like, about all the different things that humans who live with disabilities are doing to create just wicked things in the world, wicked cool things in the world. And I think to start that from a young age and get older with that, I think has a potential to grow with you and to continue to create this better narrative, so that there's a greater understanding of all these things that we talk about. Yeah. What about you, Ina?
Mm, I'm thinking that I'm trying to think back on our first conversation, which was on what are aspirations for
Yeah.
for this space and community conversation should be, and how we how it started, very much being open conversation between the 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 four of us, and um, from our personal experiences and thoughts and feelings, moving more towards expanding our minds, and what do and how could we help to grow awareness and have a deeper impact, not only in in us sitting here speaking now, but our community, FNH, and ripple out on our friends, family, neighbors.
Yeah.
Because sure, we have this much dream, and what our focus is forward, but one step at a time. And
Yeah.
I really feel, thinking back on our first, I think now we're up to like 9 or 10 community conversations.
Yeah.
Since October, November.
Yeah. Yeah.
21.
Yeah.
And yeah, how I hate when I start something,
No, you're good. You're good.
but I can't finish. This.
Ina can't finish.
All good. All good. All good. Ina, could I just chime in there? I love that you mentioned step by step, the step by step piece, and little by little, and kind of step by step, and moving forward in ways that are not only intentional, but sustainable and impactful. And I feel like there's so many things that I could write a song. So I'm gonna bring it to writing a song again. All the issues in the world could be simplified and compared to the process of writing a song. So let me bring it to writing a song. I could write a song. I could do that super quickly. But at the end of the day, is my message as clear as it could be? Are the melodies as in sync and as hooky, as cool as they could be? So that quick song that I write in an hour turns into months of rewriting it, playing around with a little bit of the message in the chorus so that it just hits a little bit harder, has a bigger impact, and that maybe some of the words in the verse are cooler. Point being, you could take something like an idea of a song, a city, and throw a bunch of people in a room and just start to move forward, and that's fine. But are you really getting to the core? Are you really getting as close to the core of why, how, and what you're trying to do as you possibly could? And I think it's interesting because I think, anyways, say we've got this team. If we talk a little bit, but we don't really hear each other, and we just move forward, is that team going to remain a very strong team for very long? I don't think so. I do not think so. If we're not hearing things for what they are, I don't think we're going to be as stuck like glue for very long, and the train will just fall off the track. So if you're trying to create something big, it's not going to be an overnight process. It's going to be a step by step, slow go, and I think that's what it should be, especially when you're trying to create something that's actually rooted in sustainable change and creating conversations that we hope continue to create a legacy and impact for years to come, so that we can look back in 20 years and not only go like, look what we did, but also be able to look around and say, like, look at all the humans that we're doing such cool things with and for and alongside and and all the different things that we've created that are connecting our community and challenging other maybe organizations in different parts of the world to find ways to collaborate in ways that they maybe didn't before. Anyways, it's just really, really interesting because I think that's one thing, as somebody that as a young dude wasn't too patient. I have become very patient over the years, and that's something I'm really personally proud of, because I think patience is really, really important. Patience is very, very important, whether we're talking about working one-on-one with people or having a big dream and wanting it to just happen, but needing to figure out that big dreams don't just happen. They take a lot of little steps and a lot of little things. And I know I've had to step back and reflect and go, okay, cool. What am I doing really well? What are some of the skills that I really suck at and I need to get better at, for all those big dreams to work? Because I know it's super cliche, but dreams don't work unless you do. And figuring out, cool, I love who I am, but I also love the idea of human development. And I love the fact that, like, my entire life, I will never, ever know everything. I will never, ever be perfect. But I could always work to every day try and be even like a little bit better. And if I am, then gosh, like, I'm going to develop into a pretty knowledgeable person, and still have a lot to learn. But if I'm trying to learn a little bit every day, then shoot, like, my skills are going to get bigger and better. And, maybe if I can do all that, maybe those big dreams that we're all kind of working towards will actually happen. But baby steps.
Yes, and as you said, also if we want something to be sustainable, then we have to take it step by step.
Yeah.
Because if we just move fast as a highway, sure, we're going to move forward very, very quick, but what was the intention? What did the impact for ourselves and people around us that we actually want to reach?
Sorry, Ina, you just actually sparked. If I could say just quickly as well, one of the things that I definitely started to identify in myself is sometimes the intent in wanting to get stuff done like that starts to make me shorter with people, starts to make me less patient with people, starts to make me a lot of things that I don't want to be. And it is interesting because I feel like I've gotten a lot better as well personally at, if I feel like I'm starting to be that way with people, I start to go, okay, the original goal and idea was to, maybe this was the date that we were starting that. Is that goal realistic still? Or maybe we need to shift that deadline a little bit. Is that really going to affect us all that much in the long run if we shift that timeline a little bit? Probably not. In fact, it'll probably help us create a better impact. If we shift that timeline a little bit, it's still there, but because the intent of what we've got is creating more stress in me, and it's creating more stress in some of the conversations I'm having. It's creating less patience. It's creating all these things that are not creating a good impact. Personally, professionally, small, big, it's not creating a good impact. So maybe we need to readjust the plan a little bit, and there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all.
It's better to readjust than head to towards a brick wall.
Yes. The last thing as well that I ever want to do in driving towards that brick wall is start to drive people away. When our impact wants to be connecting people. You know what I mean? So finding ways to, as we move forward, continue to stay on that course of bringing ourselves back to, like, okay, the goals we're setting for ourselves, are they too big right now? And if, like, the answer is, well, we're starting to drive people away, we're starting to do this or do that, then okay, let's hit pause. Let's hit pause for a sec. Let's bring it back. Let's push the deadline. Let's reimagine. Let's reimagine where we're at right now, and do that so that we're actually creating the impact that we want to create, that we set out to create. Because if we're not, then at the end of the day, at some point, somebody's going to be unhappy, and then everything's just going to explode and not do what we wanted it to do.
Amazing and very good last words.
I'm sorry, did I talk too much?
No.
I'm sorry, Ina.
I think that was good. So this has, as always, time flies by. we have a lot to say, and I love how things just float around us, and yeah, but time is up for closing down this month's conversation around intention and impact. As always, if you haven't, push the subscribe button and comment what this has sparked for you. Don't be a stranger, as you famously say, Danny. Don't be a stranger. We're on all different social medias. Shoot us a message, email, comment below, and we'll see you for next conversation in September.
Yeah.
Thank you so much and much love. Bye.
Bye.